This is crazy. Okay, this is crazy. Wifey UV dot got access, and I got access to the recent VShojo pitch deck, and some of this stuff is really interesting. TLDR describes Gunrun as the most well-connected Twitch staff. Lost $2.5 million in 2024. Even with aggressive growth, they're still not turning a profit. This includes plans to license out IP. Uses the fact that they raised over $1 million for charity to attract investment, unable to confirm if this includes the $500K that is unpaid. 10 talent managers, their salaries are included within cost of goods sold. 20 to 30 employees. It claims IP licensing will bring in $2.1 million with nothing to back up the number. Initially contained IRL photos. IRL photos! IRL photos! Of VShojo talent, which we've redacted. Dude, what type of pitch deck? So, like, okay, let me try and catch people up and people who don't know anything about VTubing or haven't followed the story at all. TLDR, VShojo is kind of like the OTK of like VTubers. It's a content org basically that tries to help VTubers grow their brand or grow their channel or, you know, do merch or do concerts or do collabs. It's just an org that helps. Do not call it OTK. I mean, it's just to explain the concept. All right. OTK, not derogatory. Anyways. So yeah, it's just a group, an organization to help out content creators or like to grow brands for content creators in exchange for like income, right? Or like, revenue for the company. Recently, Iron Mouse came out and said, which she was a part of VShojo, she came out and said, I'm leaving VShojo. They haven't paid me and they stole like $500,000 that was supposed to go to charity. And I'm done with VShojo. And then they also lost a bunch of other people. A bunch of other VTubers said, actually, fuck you, VShojo. I'm also leaving. I'm also leaving. I'm also leaving. You guys have also mistreated me and me and me and me and me. And then $500K, yes. They were like, well, we're going to close VShojo since we fucked up so bad. Oopsie. And they made a statement being like, oh, we didn't know that the $500K was for charity. Oh, our oopsie, sorry. We just didn't know that that was what that was for. How could we have known? And a bunch of people have obviously pointed out, this was the statement they made where they talked about how I've been doing everything I can to fundraise and right the ship these past few years, but despite my best efforts, we're in a worse position, and those I care about are paying the price now. Over the past years, we've raised $11 million to pursue bold, talent-first approach in VTubing. He keeps going. He says, additionally, I acknowledge some of the money spent by the company was raised in connection with talent activity. So translation, the money that we raised was because the VTubers raised the money, which I later learned was intended for a charitable initiative, which we spent the money on God knows what, and because we didn't know it was for charity. The giant box labeled for charity, only used for charity. How could we have known that that was for charity? Well, how could we have known? And then a bunch of people have been pointing out that like he literally retweeted a post from Ludwig where Ludwig says, great streamer, has one of the best stories on Twitch during her subathon, and says also donating half the money raised to charity. It went to Twitter on my home page. It's a dangerous territory. And then, of course, people pointed this out as well. So he attended the IDF charity event in person, brought Mousy around the event, and then proceeded to say he didn't know it was intended for a charity event. Why are you lying? Awful person. You are not sorry at all. For the purpose of this conversation, for anyone who doesn't know, IDF here does not mean immune, it does not mean Israeli Defense Force. It means Immune Deficiency Foundation. Got to tap the sign. Yeah. The good IDF. Okay. So this person, uh, a pitch deck is like sort of, how would I best describe it? Kind of like, if you're either the talent or you are the company trying to get talent, you can give people, it's like a fucking PowerPoint that's like, here's why our company is good. Join our company. Here's why this is good to join. It's a self-glazed PowerPoint. That's all the pitch deck is. So the pitch deck that they were sending to random people had real VTubers' faces in it. Dude. I have no words. And yes, this is the same gun run, by the way. Christ, dude. So anyways, this is probably the most offensive. Growth strategy, expansion of sponsorships and licensing. And then it talks about outbound sales activation, high value sponsorships, talking about G Fuel, licensing opportunities, merchandising optimization, etc. And then it shows this document that is financial projections, October 2024 forecast. And it shows that they were losing crazy amounts of money on God knows what. So, like, one example, merch revenue, they brought in 1.4 million. Cost of goods sold, 3.2 million. What is happening? What's going on? What are they doing? Like, literally, what are they? They're just hemorrhaging money on God knows what. $350,000 in candles. Can you please fix my budget? More to the point, how do you have, they said that they have 10 talent managers. Their salaries are within the cost of goods sold. And for their merch revenue, they're bringing in 1.4 mil. 1.4 mil off of merch. And these contracts were like very predatory. Like a lot of the people that signed these contracts, they were losing like 60% of their sponsorship money. They were losing like 40% of their like sub money. Like they were losing a lot of money. And their team wasn't even really fucking doing anything. It's more about like the, oh, look, I'm with VShojo. Look, I'm official. Merch is like, unless you're ethically sourcing all of your merch, merch is some of the freest money on the planet. Most of the time, you don't even have to do anything, by the way. Most of the time, when you're trying to get merch, they will just do all of the work for you. They will do the creation, they will do the shipping, they will do the customer service, and then you just make money. That's it. You just make money. Especially influencer merch, where a lot of influencers will use like the worst quality materials and they'll have like the worst customer service and they'll pay like $80 for like the shittiest hoodie you've ever bought in your life. So it's like, what was happening here that the cost of goods sold on this was $3.2 million? How did you lose money on merch? How? How? What was, can we see what the salaries were for the 10 talent managers? How much were they getting paid? Like 300 grand each? Wha wha to do what? Uh, I love how LA is creating an environment where talent hook each other up and make agents obsolete. That's my impression, at least. Am I wrong? Well, I think for a lot of people who, also they only had like 15 talents. Why would they need 10? I could understand maybe 3. I mean, it's also like when you have a company and you're hiring people, you want to hire just like the right amount of people so you don't have a bunch of people that don't have anything to do or any way to help or anything to create or help produce or whatever, right? That's why content teams tend to be really small. It's because there isn't that much to do. It's just that the stuff that needs to get done is very important. Unless they printed up a million of each item without selling, it's virtually impossible. I say this running merch for several bands in my life. Like, I just don't. Why are those salaries under COGS and not payroll? Great question. Um, Management in general don't do very much or like the least amount, maybe, and their salaries have always been crazy, like leagues above the staff that actually produce anything. Yeah. So like, let me say, I feel like most of us who are on the internet for like watching the esport crash, the esport bubble, where there was a bunch of investors that were down to give tens of millions of dollars into esports because they were like, well, this might blow up. It might be a worthwhile venture. A bunch of venture capitalists. And then it like didn't pan out because monetizing esports is really hard because none of the actual esports talent necessarily have a brand, and a lot of it is because you just don't have the time and energy to dedicate to being a professional esports player if you do content, which like anyone here who's watched any esports players or people who are really like anyone who's ever been really good at a game and has dabbled in esports, you'll know that they're always like the worst in their team. Like XUC played, I think, Overwatch professionally for some time. I know a couple other streamers that also did the same. And it's just like the time that you have to work when you work for esports is like they train for like 8 hours a day where they just like do nothing but scrim for 8 hours a day every single day. It's like, damn, that sounds like that kind of sounds like shit. Oh my God. That actually kind of sounds terrible. So they don't have like, and other creators have talked about this where creators who have been in the esports space, but also have been in the content space, they talk about how they eventually leave esports because it's way more like mentally draining and the pay is like way worse and it's also way less fulfilling. Whereas if you can make like a stream around content or whatever, that's you work way fewer hours and it's a different type of labor, but at least you're doing something that's a little bit more passion based. So it's unsurprising someone like Tenz's position retired so early. Yeah, I mean it's the same reason that a lot of other 110 hours of Winstoning around the point. Yeah. So moving on. The problem with esports has always been that because the people who play esports, they're not like big names in and of themselves. It's hard to make money off of those people. When it comes to like content creators that are really large in and of themselves, like Iron Mouse, to these companies, they obviously just saw Iron Mouse as like a money printing machine and they still fucked it up. Like how? How how do you have someone as large as Iron Mouse who broke the like subathon, who can probably rake in millions and millions of dollars in merch, in like events, probably in concerts, in so many things. And that's like just your one of your talents. That's just one. And you still tank your company because what you're paying everybody like probably obscene amounts of money. All you have to do is not be an idiot. It's so crazy. Boundless incompetence and greed. Part of the reason is that the companies that manage esports have always been shitty at marketing their athletes. Oh, I mean, yeah, that's also true. I don't disagree. I'm saying when it comes to like having a talent org, you don't even have to market your talent. They market themselves. Like, you don't need to market Iron Mouse. She's already massive. Like, she markets VShojo. How? How are you fucking this up? Their athletes aren't super marketable, TBH. And like, that's the other thing. It's like having stage presence, or anyone that has stage presence, is a lot easier to market versus someone that doesn't have stage presence, right? And like there are some esports players that have big stage presence, but there are also a lot that like don't. That like they get interviewed and they're like, I did my best. I played the game and then we won, and it was really good. It's like, I mean, there's not like you can train them. You can train them to be like camera ready or whatever, but not everyone is like already there. But your company, that's not the problem here. Your company is filled with people that are already there, that already have audiences, that already are marketable, that already market themselves. And you can't make a profit? Which has to mean that the only thing that is happening is that you're wasting all of the money on like payrolls for people that are doing nothing. You're just trying to funnel away money from these VTubers to you and your team, or you and like the people that like want to take advantage of these people. Obviously not defending VShojo. I wonder if Trump's tariffs played a part in them running out of money. Well, no, because this is like in 2024, they were running a $2.4 million loss. The tariffs didn't even hit until this year. So like it's not even relevant to this conversation. They were just stealing the creator money. And then they were like, okay, well, I'm going to make myself better off. And I guess all my friends can also get like obscene amounts of money despite them just basically stealing from these content creators. And yeah, that sounds good. The only ones getting paid last year were his friends at VShojo. Gun run away with the money. Stop. 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 Oh yeah, and this is another example. We talked about this a little bit yesterday.
I was like, how much does it cost to get that? Because personally, in my opinion, it would be nice if instead of advertising, we could, perhaps put that money towards the Immune Efficiency Foundation. And so I actually found the exact costs of how much it costs to do this. Fun fact. Yeah, here they are. It's a lot of money. So this is one of the ways that you can get it. There's also this piece of information here, and I'll let you explain how much this costs. So what this says in Japanese is right here. This says that for one of those pillars for 7 days, if I'm not mistaken, it'll cost 40 million yen, which is about $250,000 for one. If you want to take over the whole thing, it would cost 200 million yen, which is, if I'm not mistaken, it's a lot. It's a fuck ton.
It's also like, I think it ended up being about like $1.3 million. And herein lies our issue. You have a bunch of people that their job is to manage the people who are actually doing the work, but then they don't actually speak to any of the people and ask them what would be the best way to spend our marketing budget. Because I'm sure all of the VTubers in the space had like 20 different ideas that were all really good that would have made that budget. They would have stretched that budget and actually gotten something out of it. Which I understand advertising isn't like it's just seen as a cost. You don't attribute any revenue to advertising because there isn't an easy way to attribute that. But I'm sure if they, I don't know, ask the talent, hey, we have this much that we want to spend on marketing. What would you, if we could put something together, what would you want to see? You know what would have been really good marketing? Doing some type of streaming event where you take a bunch of VTubers and get them to work with non-VTubers on something. Because guess what? You're actually reaching a target audience of people that might actually watch VTubers. And it'd probably be a fraction of the cost that you spent on some stupid billboards that gave you nothing. Streamers streaming? Also, advertising English VTubers in Japan is insanely dumb. I think it's such an easy job. I would do this immediately. I don't get how this is challenging to learn and grow, especially if you use UNet. Well, the problem is that like inflated egos destroy these people's brains. All marketing is inherently stupid and nonsensical. I disagree. I disagree. I think that there is such thing as good marketing. The thing is, good marketing doesn't look like marketing. So back, way back when, long before the many sex scandals of OTK, back when they used to still upload on the OTK channel, they did great marketing for OTK. Like, they were getting hundreds of thousands of views to millions of views on these videos. Which my understanding was Milena also put a lot of effort into this, which is a big reason why these videos stopped being made. Like, they brought people who otherwise would never be exposed to OTK, would never be exposed to OTK's content, and they made shows around it. And the shows probably didn't take that much to produce because it's not like they're paying the talent, right? With VShojo, they're not paying the talent. They're taking money from the talent. So all you need to do is tell the talent to fucking show up. And then you invite on a bunch of other larger creators as well that help inflate, like, I don't know, the relevance or importance of your brand. Like, that's marketing still. Great marketing. I keep putting Jade Schlatt in a thumbnail. It seems, well, not just that. It's like also what's happening in the video, right? Who are you bringing on the video? I mean, a single indie threw together a VTuber wrestling tourney using the most recent WWE game character creator. A corporation should have been able to put something together, something great together with the talents they had. Yeah. Esports is similar. Well, yeah, I was comparing it to esports earlier, but the problem with esports is like, it's not like any of the esports players were able to gain traction for the event. People liked the game, and that's why it did well, but also it was kind of always a bubble with venture capitalists. With this, with like content orgs, it's like your content creators are almost like inherently valuable. Like they are already money printers. You just have to use them. Like you literally just have to put together events for them or like market them in ways that make sense. And they just like didn't bother doing that at all. So are any of these organizations not a scam?
What about
Nope.
T1 RHYZ Smash?
The only ones that aren't a scam are the ones where like the creators are the owners of the like I would say OTK was probably not a scam because the people who work there have an incentive to they run the company and they have an incentive for the company to do well. The problem with OTK is like sex scandals and more sex scandals and more sex scandals. and more sexy honest. Anywho, Will Neff most underrated talent. I mean, yeah, and then OTK like they just like they fumbled the bag. They had it and then they just fumbled it. They like wasted like Will Neff's talent. Anyways, my point is, you only fumble a company or an org this bad when you're just paying yourself and your buddies, and you don't give a shit how any of the creators are being treated. They saw this company 100% as, well, let's see how much value we can extract from these VTubers. And it's not like they know any better, so let's give them the most predatory contract, make as much money as possible for them. Or sorry, for us. And hopefully they just keep printing out enough money that it's not a big deal. Hololive isn't really a scam. They provide a lot for their talent. I don't know anything about Hololive. I don't know a lot about Hololive, to be quite honest. Fumbling Will and then Asmon's right-wing grift ruined OTK. I mean, that and like the fucking sex fest that they had. But bluntly, it's also incredibly rare for CEO owners of a startup to not be catastrophically self-defeating and ruin their own startup, which I feel like this is the core of every single, like, not to ask for like democratic workplaces or whatever and be political or whatever, but this is the core of the problem. Like, I think OTV did as well as they did because the people who own the company were the content creators that made content. And they had a vested interest in making sure it did well. And then they also did the job so they knew what would do well and what wouldn't do well. It wasn't just bringing in some random person that had a bunch of money and they were like, I got this. This will be easy. Hololive isn't great, but they actually are running a successful company for now. For now. For now. We'll see how things play out. I wouldn't be surprised if all this shit blows up because, like, hey, maybe they are doing a really good job. I don't want to comment if they are or aren't. Okay, but I'm always suspicious of orgs that have talent. So, Hololive is just brutal. It's idol culture that's insanely brutal grind, but at least you have an idea of what you're signing up for. The other problem with Hololive is they own like the characters and the models, which we talked about a little bit yesterday, where I think Gura wanted to leave Hololive and then she left them and she had to make her own model and all this other stuff, which that kind of seems like a shit contract, which is a very good way to incentivize people to never leave. Right? Mm. This is pretty funny though. Gunrun has been removed as a global emote on Twitch. Well. And nothing of value was lost. And absolutely nothing of value was lost. I will say people join Hololive because they do have a ton of support for the talent, put on a lot of events and stuff for them. Oh, okay, that's dope. Again, yeah. Detailed VT models with a lot of modifications, customization options cost thousands, so it's a good way of trapping someone in if the company offers a model and then takes it away as their property. Well, they own the name as well. Amount of times I've heard a manager at a higher spot than the person they were talking to point to a document and say, "This number needs to be green, have a positive next to it, whatever you need to do." They just never gave a crap about how. I mean, yeah. 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 Anywho. Or someone who's good at the economy help me. $2 million on Subway ads. Someone please help me. My company is failing. Oh god, dude. Anyways.